Hello, everyone. We are back again at I.M.B Studios and Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in again. Today, we have a very special guest. Her name is Stephanie Thomas. She is the founder of Core Financial Literacy. She is also a licensed broker in all 50 states. She's a financial guru. She's a mother. She's a woman of great faith. And I want everyone to meet her. How are you doing today, Stephanie?
I'm doing great.
Thank you so much for coming to I.M.B Studios and Podcasts and giving us this education about finances and literacy. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, Stacy, definitely. And my background with financial literacy came when 6 years ago, I had a full-time job in engineering plus a marketing firm. Mm-hmm. But I always thought about, we need to know how money works.
Exactly.
So I started being a client, and then I realized that I wanted to become a broker where I can help others with financial literacy. And 4 years ago, I became a licensed financial broker in all 50 states to just educate others about how money works and how important it is to protect our money.
What is financial literacy?
Financial literacy, that's a great question. Financial literacy is having the knowledge of how money works. We need to be able to understand that when it comes to financial literacy, it's not only the things that we have. Back in the days when I had a full-time job, I used to have a 401k. I used to have a term insurance. I used to have a saving account. And I thought I was financially educated. But what I realized that being financially educated goes beyond that. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why we have to focus in knowing how money works, specifically the 3 rules of money that we will be discussing today.
Okay, what are the 4 components of financial literacy?
Okay, basically when it comes to the different components of financial literacy, we speak about how you budget your money, which is very important.
I don't do.
Because a lot of people always say, hey, Stephanie, but how am I going to save money if I'm living paycheck to paycheck?
Exactly.
But the reality is that sometimes people spend $30 a week in alcohol, maybe $5 a day in coffee. And that money that we put in away daily for those things, we can put it in a budget and we could save it. Another component is saving our money. Mm-hmm. Another component is having emergency funds and learning how to invest our money. And those are the different parts of financial literacy that we got to learn how to do it simultaneously. Wow. We cannot do one, leaving the other part aside.
Yeah, I definitely understand. Now, since you're educating us on financial literacy, what is being financial illiterate? You know, the people that go through drive-through once every day, every week, tell us about that.
Correct. Being financially illiterate, and you said it, it's just being in a position of thinking that we are okay.
Right.
And then when something happens, we don't have our things in place. Mm-hmm. And that's the reality that we live nowadays. Like everybody says, I am financially educated, but then they're not saving.
Right.
They don't have emergency funds.
Yeah.
They are not trying to become debt free. The investment, they don't have the right investment. And these are things that we have to go through something that's called financial needs analysis. Mm-hmm. With a financial needs analysis, we could identify which part of financial literacy we are missing so we could become and achieve financial independence. Mm-hmm. So I think if we can help our communities, help everyone that we know in getting financially educated, one person at a time, we will grow faster in knowledge. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the main missions that we have. How can we do it one person at a time?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I was looking into your bio, and I just want to know, what did you do and what steps did you put in order to build $1 million worth in your early 30s? What did you do? Educate us. We want to know, Stephanie.
Okay, so definitely, and when I was 6 years ago, when I was working, I always was into business from when I was 23 years old. And I was into marketing.
Okay.
So when I was into marketing, one of the rules of making a lot of money in a quicker way is finding a problem and finding a solution. Mm-hmm. So while I was doing, I have a marketing firm that was getting clients for agencies that wanted Medicare clients.
Okay.
So we were doing back in the day something called paper call.
Paper call.
Paper call. So these agencies are buying, for example, 5,000 calls for $30. That's $150,000 a month. And then from there, you move it through there. But what helped me a lot was that I was doing the things the wrong way. So I was making that money and I was putting it in a bank account and I was not investing it. So when I got financially educated, I realized that instead of putting my money in an account that I was getting 1%, I started putting my money in an account that I was getting up to 15% interest rate.
Okay.
So now that money is protected by millions of dollars and is growing faster because the interest rate is faster. So that's one of the things that motivated me to get financially educated because it does not make sense to make money
and not do what's right and save it and invest. Understood.
And save it and invest where instead of your money doubling every 72 years or every 20 years, your money can double faster.
Right.
And that was one of the reasons why that it helped me to maintain that network because at that moment in my life, I realized that it's not how much money we have, it's where we put it.
Right. Thank you for that education, because we all want to know how to get $1 million.
And it's not difficult. It's just putting the money in the right vehicles.
Okay.
So our money start working for us because if we don't do that, then we will be working for the money instead of the money working for us.
Okay. Thank you for telling me that. What is predatory lending?
Predatory lending is when specifically mortgage brokers, lenders are lending money to individuals knowing that they do not have the capacity of covering the loan.
Okay.
And that is something that we got to stop doing.
Okay.
Because the reality is that everybody wants to get a house. Everybody wants to get things, but they want to get it fast without going through the right vehicles. And sometimes these lenders are coming with 10% interest rate, 12% interest rate because they know that the individual does not qualify. What happens? 1 to 3 months later, the person stays without the house.
Default. Can't afford it.
And then their credit goes down because now they don't have the money to pay it back.
Right.
Somebody else took the property. And then what are they going to have to recover? It takes them longer to recover. And that's the reason why we believe that everyone needs to go through a financial needs analysis before they focus in buying a house, because there are so many ways that a person can acquire a house based on their income. If a person have a lower income, they have loans where they don't even have to give a down payment.
Wow.
Right? Or maybe they get $20,000 assistance in a down payment, or they can do a reverse mortgage. There's many different type of loans that they can get that can put them in the right bracket where they don't have to get it today and lose it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So those are things that we need to start speaking about those things.
Yes, because people don't understand that the double digits are not good for interest payments. Anything in the double digits is a disaster. It will be a disaster. Excuse me.
Double digits is when we have our investments. If we getting 10%, 11%, 12%, that's awesome.
Okay.
But when it's with debt, and they tell you're going to have 10% interest rate, 12% interest rate, they're preparing you for failure. Yes. Another thing that they do is that we always got to make sure to have a fixed loan, not a variable loan. Right. Because your loan could be at 2% today, and if it's variable, what happens?
It goes up and you can't
2 years later, it's 5%.
Right.
And then you cannot afford it and you lose your assets just because they gave you more than what you can afford. And you know what's the sad part of the story? That whoever gets that property, get it for pennies of a dollar.
Wow.
After you put so much into it. So those are things that we got to look into. Unfortunately, most people do not like speaking about money. Most people don't like to speak about planning for the future, but if we don't speak about it, if we don't plan towards it, then the future is not going to be successful. That's the reason why financial literacy is important in all aspects of our life.
Yes.
How can we get these loans and make sure that the income is protected? And I'm going to give you a story of one of my clients. I have this guy, 30 years old. He told me, Stephanie, I don't have enough money. I need to help my mom. I've been paying my mom mortgage. It's 10 years left. And I would like to protect my income with $1 million. 30-year-old, we was able to get him an account for $53.62 for $1 million. What does that mean? If he gets sick, his mom is not going to lose her house.
Right.
If he passed away, his mom not going to lose her house. So those are things that we got to think about. We got to think about, hey, if I have a house, if I have a car, if I have kids, whatever I love the most,
it's protected.
How can I protect that to make sure that if something happens to me, that I don't lose what I have? And he touched my heart because I'm like, hey, he's 30 years old. And he's concerned that his mom don't lose everything that she has if something happens to him. And we gotta educate the community, even if they're 20 years old or 30 years old. Guess what? Some of those kids, they got single moms. And they gotta think, hey, if your mom raised you to this position and you could protect what you have to make sure that you don't leave your family left behind, let's speak about this. How can we protect what we have, even if we have a lot, or we have a little? And if we have a little, we gotta protect it more, because what are we gonna do? And that's the mission and the crusade of not leaving no family left behind, making sure that it doesn't matter if we have a lot or a little. How can we protect this and educate everyone regarding this? Not having people to go to GoFundMe, not having people to go through things. You know, things happen day by day. Someone get a stroke. Okay, where are they going to get that money from? Someone get cancer. Where are they getting that money from? We got to think about not only protecting our life if we die. How can we protect our income right now if something happens to us? Because if something happens to us, we still got bills to pay.
Exactly. They keep going.
They keep going. And somewhere we got to get that money. So do we want to deplete our bank account? How do we want to use somebody else's money and pay all those?
Because so many people these days are living from paycheck to paycheck, and they're one paycheck from a disaster or a situation that could be detrimental, you know. So we need to learn on how to save, how to put back, you know, and save for that rainy day fund, because at any time, anything could happen, you know. So thank you so much for educating us about that. And since we're talking about mortgages and stuff, what do you think about these banks closing and going down in America and this dollar bill? And what you think about that?
I really believe that we got to understand how the banking system works, right? Most of the times when we put our money in the bank, our money is protected only by $250,000. So what we have to take care about is that we need to start putting our money where the bank put our money. And this is how it works. When we put our money in the bank invests and insure our money with the insurance company. And they're making up to 15% or more on our money. But how much are they giving us? Less than 1% interest rate. But then the sad part of the story is that if the bank closed and you have $1 million, how much are they going to give us back?
How much?
$250,000.
Wow.
If that.
Wow, of our own money.
Of our own money.
And keep the rest of it.
Yeah, the bank closed down. The insurance company is only protecting that money to $250,000. So you could have $5 million. They close down, all you get is $250,000.
That's scary.
But if you put it directly to the insurance company and protect your money there, your money is protected.
Okay.
Even if the bank closed down, you still have your money. So we have to learn to put our money where our bank put our money. So we are not having third parties in between.
Right. But see, so many of us don't know, Stephanie. You know, we go through life and we don't have that level of education about financial literacy, and we didn't have no one, you know, before us to teach us that.
Correct.
So, you know, we have to learn. And I thank you so much for coming and help me educate the community about this, because, you know, everybody's blowing money fast.
Correct.
And not putting back nothing for a rainy day or for any situation. And so when they speak about these banks closing and stuff like that, it's getting scary. And, you know, they speaking about the dollar, the dollar bill is being devalued. That's scary. What do you think about that?
Well, that's the reason why when we invest our money, we need to have it in a global index. What does that mean? Even if the dollar goes down, your money always stays the same because in a global index. And that's something that we have to start speaking about those things because we just do it living day by day. But imagine tomorrow we could wake up, there's no value to the money. What are we going to do?
What are we going to do?
Right. So we need to know how to protect those money and then make sure that our investment are in the right vehicles.
Okay.
To make sure that we are not going to sleep and the next day we just don't have it.
So what do you think, as us being Americans, how can we prepare for the collapse of the dollar bill? What can we do to get prepared for that? Protect
the money. If your money is protected in the right vehicles, even if the dollar collapses, you don't lose your money.
So what vehicles do you recommend, you know, for someone, the average American?
We have to insure it. We have to insure the money with the insurance company.
Okay.
With the right strategy, with the right accounts.
Okay.
Because if we don't, when we lose it, we lose it. But if it's protected, even if it collapses, we don't lose it.
Thank you. Thank you, man. That is so, you know, it's so educational because we need to know that because we don't know what might happen tomorrow.
No. And that's the issue of not knowing these things. And then when things happen, it gets us as a surprise because we're like, hey, I thought I had $1 million. And then the next day you wake up and you just have 200,000.
Okay, next question. What do you think will happen to the 401k if the dollar bill collapses? And everybody who's, you know, been in 401k for years, will they be able to get their money back out? Or?
And if the dollar collapses, the market will go down. And if the market goes down, as you've been seeing, when the market goes down, there's nothing that we can do. We lose our money.
Oh, my God.
So that's why it's 3 ways. The second rule of money is how money grows, right? So we have fixed, which is the bank. We have variable, which is 401k, and we have the index strategy. The variable is like a heart attack. If the market grows, your money grows. Market goes down, you lose your money. That's the issue with the 401k. The index strategy, if the market grows, your money grows. But if the market goes down, your money is protected. That's why when it comes to how our money works, we just got to make sure and have it with the right strategy. So when these things happen, we don't have to worry about it.
You know what? I love you because you really bring me, girl. You is educating us, and I appreciate that.
And we have to try doing that because nobody likes losing the money.
Right.
But the reality is, if we have it in that vehicle, it's nothing that we can do. That's why we have to switch from strategy. And that's what happened to me. 6 years ago. I was so concerned about losing my money because I had my money in the 401k. And I was a huge defender of it. And when it was time for me to take out my money, guess what happened to me? I had to pay 10% penalty plus taxes.
Yes.
And I didn't know it was variable or nothing like that. So when I was able to roll over my money from that qualified account to the qualified account, my shovel stopped. Because now I have peace of mind that even if the market goes down, I'm not losing my money. And when it's time to take out my money, it starts free.
Yes. Yes.
So now I can focus in growing my money without thinking that when I have to take it out, I got to pay all those taxes.
So were you double taxed? So
no,
okay.
Because what happened is this. You either pay taxes on the seed or the harvest.
Okay.
So the way that I do it, all the money that goes into the account, you already pay taxes for that. So when it's time to take it out, it's tax free.
Okay.
So it's better to pay taxes on the seed. For example, it's better to pay taxes on $10,000 instead of paying taxes on $1 million.
Right. It's a big difference.
It's a big difference. But with the 401k, what people are doing, they do not pay taxes on $10,000. When it's $1 million, they got to pay taxes on all those fees. So they lose almost 50% of the money.
Wow. But since we're talking about 401k, now let's talk about retirement. And what things should we have in place, other than 401k, to help us, in our later years?
So for retirement, we need to have a tax-free retirement. We have to have the reverse of it. We have to have accounts where we could put money into for retirement now, pay taxes now. By the time it's time to take out that money is tax-free.
Okay.
We also got to make sure that the money that we're putting in for retirement is getting a higher interest rate. So that way, you invest a certain amount of money, and because of the high interest rate, when it's time to cash it out, it's tax free. I'm going to give you an example of one of my clients. I have a client that she owns a restaurant, and she's like, okay, I want to put $30,000, $190,000 for my retirement. I'm going to put $30,000 for like 6 years. 6 years. The investment was going to be $180, $190. After that, she's not going to put $1. By the time she's 65, she have $1 million tax free. Okay. So that's good because all she put into her retirement is $190,000, but she's going to be able to cash out $1 million tax free. So we have to figure out ways that our money start working for us. We are so used to dollar per dollar. Yes. Everybody's like, oh, I want to have $1 million, so they want to put $1 million. No, someone wants to have $1 million. We got to save a certain amount of money that could be $150. But then you put it in the right vehicle that it grows out the way to $1 million tax free, but you are sure of that retirement. Because you know how sad it is that by the time me or you get to 65, there might not be no Social Security. Right. Exactly. And if there's no Social Security, we have to have our own private retirement that we could say, hey, even if I don't have a Social Security, I'm sure that I'm going to have a tax-free millionaire retirement because I did what I had to do. Right. In my working years. Yeah,
thank you for teaching us that because so many of us don't know what to do. I would love to have $1 million retirement.
You will.
Thank you. Thank you so much for claiming that. So, we just didn't have that type of education. So I thank Stephanie so much. So Stephanie, what else would you like to educate us about, core financial literacy?
My advice to everyone is no matter what you're doing, no matter what's your goals and dreams, try to protect your assets. Make sure that if you get sick, that you don't have to run back to work, that your assets are protected. If you passed away, leave a legacy to your family. We got to start believing in generational wealth. And when it comes to your retirement, make sure it's tax-free. There's no way at this time in our life that we need to be paying so much taxes right now. We have to have a diverse portfolio. If you want to stick with a 401k, that's fine. But make sure that at least 50% of your investment is in a vehicle that can give you tax-free money as well. So for us, it's a benefit that Stacy have me here because she's very passionate in our podcast to be educating the community and everyone. And we want to make this a mission of no family left behind. Because if everyone help one, we can all get financially educated and make sure that we don't have to repeat anything that happened in our previous generation. Maybe we didn't come from a wealthy family, but a wealthy family can start from us. So let's go with that. Let's think about how we can, moving forward, be past that wealth to the next generations. And any generational curse, we could cut it here and make sure that the next generation doesn't have to struggle when it comes to money or anything in that manner.
Well, there it is. You've heard it from the financial guru, Miss Stephanie Thomas. Thank you so much. Will you give us your social media and contact information, please?
Yes. You can always find me at Coach Stephanie T. And that's in Instagram, I'm Coach Stephanie Thomas. And all the other social media is Coach Stephanie T. And you will be able to see everything that we're doing and different tips about financial literacy.
Please go follow her. All her information will be in the description below. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for coming and educating us about this money and showing us how to make $1 million. You know, I appreciate that information, and I look so forward to working with you in the future. I'm sorry, and thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you for having me.
Okay, you're more than welcome.
Thank you.